What do we want our students to be able to do with this? What do we care about this for? What do we want them to walk away with? What? We want them to know it ensures our freedom.
What the goals are that the Founding Fathers expect from the United States.
Okay, the goals of our Founding Fathers and what they expected. Great. Step 2. Which is kind of those key ideas which we kind of covered. Okay, what is the number 3, most powerful academic words? Now, these are the most powerful ones that if they don't understand these, they will not comprehend. Circle them. Circle them.
I guess so. I guess so.
Within the article. In the article, I have to find the words that if they don't understand them, they will not walk away with the knowledge.
You're thinking ahead for your students. You know, you want them to be successful, so we have to prepare them. So we're looking for those keywords that they must attain, they must comprehend.
How many have you circled?
A lot.
How many? How many? 3. What are you 3? Tranquility, posterity, ordain. Okay, let's take tranquility. It says we also have to generate questions and discussions. God bless you. Tranquility. What comes to mind? I know one word that comes to my mind immediately. Okay, but my kids aren't going to know what tranquility is. What can I give them that's going to help them know what a tranquilizer? I'm going to tell them tranquilizer. What happens? Have you ever seen a show where they shoot a tranquilizer in a lion, a bear, a horse? What happens to that animal when they shoot a tranquilizer? It knocks them out. They're calm. They're sleeping. They're peaceful. They're gentle. We could pet them. Now will they understand tranquility.
You make that connection. It's making that connection on their level.
Ordain. What comes to mind? A priest. What do we do? What does ordain mean? It says, do ordain and establish. What do they mean here? Do ordain and establish. Okay. Power. What happens? He has the right, the privilege, the authority. And what are we expecting that he is going to do with his ordination? Lead. And lead how? Spiritually, and lead us in the right direction. Great. Posterity. Posterity. Like, how am I going to teach this? How am I going to get my kids to wrap around their head on posterity? Any ideas? Let's look at this sentence. Secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. So in that sentence, it's for whom? It's for everybody and everybody that's what? Come in the future. That's everyone here, which is ourselves, and not just for our immediate future and those living now, but for those in the future. The next thing we need to do is number 4, but we're not taking out standards, so you would have to do that on your own. Number 5. What other academic words would you want to make sure your students have discussion on? We identified 3 that we thought were crucial. But did you not circle some other words your students might not? Yes.
Verbs.
All of the verbs. I thought all of the verbs would be something that I would need to make sure they have a true understanding of. And those verbs are?
Form, establish.
Form, establish.
Provide, promote.
Ensure. Promote. They're not going to be at the same level of that tranquility, but I do want to make sure. What could I do to get my students engaged What's a foldable? Where I fold it. You know, it's Dinah Zykes foldables, Dinah Zykes website. It's free foldables. You download them. I love them. So I make either a hot dog. This is a hot dog foldable. I make a hamburger foldable. And so I'm going to have words, and I'm going to have them draw a picture. These are all verbs. What could they do with these verbs? Action. I'm looking for action. Because they're all verbs, I'm thinking they could draw a picture showing the action, showing the verb.
You can even do a literacy card, right?
Absolutely.
You can do a literacy card. That's another content literacy strategy. Is in that.
Number 6. This has to do with the structure and how it's written. I want my students, and not only with the preamble, but with the amendment too, y'all, how am I going to break it up? How will I have my students break it up so they wrap their head around each of these components? What would you do?
Share with maybe a partner what they're thinking and how they're...
Okay, their thought process. Okay, now when I'm asking them to share their thought process, what am I expecting them to do? I will have had to model that, but what would you do? How does one share their thought process?
You split them into groups and have, 4-people group or however you want. Give them a sheet of paper. They can either reinterpret the amendment. They can use pictures, for those that, for different, just to change it up for whatever. And then they can present it to the class.
Okay, I want you to take the amendment. I want you to get with somebody. I want you to break up the amendment into pieces that can be understood by middle school. How would you break it up? Get with a partner. Come up with something. How would you break it up? Break it up. How did you divide it so it would be in chunks that your students could walk away with a thorough understanding? How did you do it?
Religion by itself.
Religion. What else?
Freedom of speech.
Speech. Press. Okay. Religion, speech. Where did you put press with? Did you put press with speech?
Yes.
Separately.
Yes.
Then you put them together? That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. There isn't one way. Because with press, I can talk about the freedom of speech with the press. Then you talk about, so we have religion, we have speech, we have press, we have assembly, and we have petition. What kinds of words are those? Nouns. What can I get my students to do with those so that they truly understand them? They could draw. What would they draw under? What would they draw under establishment of religion?
A cross.
A cross, a church. Good. What could they draw under freedom of speech?
Speech bubble.
Speech bubble.
Good.
Or of the press. What's that going to be? Newspaper. Assembly. Crowd. And to petition.
Like a judge. Court.
A judge. Pick a line. Okay. All righty. And then number 7. What would be your culminating activity that you would want to pick up and grade and understand? Yes, my students understand this expository text. What would you want? Come on, talk about it. A what? Okay, a booklet of what?
Or, them showing them what each of the guarantee rights and everything at all, or each of them understanding of it.
Okay, they would create their own booklet of what each of the parts, the preambles and the amendments are. What can I do for real life for my students today? To make it real life for them.
Tell them how, if not having this amendment would affect their life.
Okay.
And today, at the age that they are, because remember, that's real life, our connection for where they are today.
What else?
Having the students tell you
how it would affect them instead of you telling them, because the goal is for the students to be talking and you facilitating. So you would want them to talk about it and tell you how it would affect you.
Their own life, their own house, their own
Yes,
family.
their own house, their own life.
Real life
How do
application.
they feel they don't have the freedom of speech, the freedom of religion, the freedom of press? What could they eventually do with this? Write what? Write an essay? Write what? Write their own amendment.
That's right.
Their own amendment for their home, their own, thank you, no, their own amendments. But to protect their own rights.
Do you see how much higher we're taking this with our students now? In the direction of where we're moving with Common Core? And you see how we talked about twirl in the beginning? You see how we have you're investigating, you're reading, you're speaking, you're listening. This is all part of our shift.
And y'all, is this a real long piece of expository text? No. So when Common Core keeps saying, 50-50, and then I need more and more of expository text, it doesn't have to be this long, lengthy article. It can be something as short as this, and it requires a great deal of hierarchy. Next slide. Okay. I'd like you to take a few minutes. This has to do with why do middle school students have trouble reading expository text. I want you to read this. Take about a minute to read it.
It's on the board. It's all right.
Okay, jot down what is it about. What is this about? Hey, what's it about?
If you didn't give up.
Okay. Now, next slide. What? Next slide. Is it working? Okay. Why do middle school students have trouble reading expository text? Sometimes they lack background knowledge. Prior knowledge. I want to